Today on Jer and Jeff Eat New West, El Santo is taking over for 12 days of holiday cooking tips. Day 1 is how to do steak.
So it's very important to pull any protein that you're going to cook and let it come up to room temperature before you cook it. This steak I pulled out when you guys got here. I seasoned it at that point. In the fridge, I do have another steak. So this one has been in the fridge the whole time. It's cold. It's about 4 to 3 degrees Celsius. What we're going to need to do as well is season our steaks. And whenever you season something, you always want to season what you're seasoning first and then add any oil or anything else. You want to make sure that you're seasoning the meat and not whatever you put on top of it. So we're going to use a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then we're going to add these to the grill. Want to control any flare-ups. You'll see a couple flaring. I'm going to move the steak over, make sure that it's not staying in that direct fire too long. A lot of people, when they're cooking a steak, will say that you want to get the crosshatches on one side and then flip it. The problem with that is if it's a thinner steak and you cook it entirely on one side, the muscles are going to start to tense up and it's going to bend. So what I always do is I'll sear one side, I'll flip it, and then I'll flip it back again to get the cross hatching. And whenever you do that, if you just follow these lines on this other side and you make them line up with the grid, you're going to get a nice cross hatch. And you can already see when I flip these over the difference between the one that's already come up to room temperature and the one that we're doing from cold. The one that was at room temperature has a very nice sear, a lot of nice coloring, and the one that's cold is starting to look a little gray, but you do get the lines from where it's direct in contact with the grill. So we're going to do one more flip to go probably a minute and a half. One last time. So you can see with these steaks, the one that's come up to room temperature has a very nice sear on the outside all over now. The one that is not, you can even look at the side here and you can see it's not cooked through. But we will take these off and we'll let them rest for about 2 to 3 minutes to make sure that all the juices stop moving around as much, and then we're going to cut them and you can see the difference in the cooking. So we're cutting the steaks now. The first one we're going to cut is the room temperature one. Whenever you cut a steak, you want to cut against the grain. So if you see the meat has this grain running through it, that's all the connective tissue. So if you cut with that, it's going to be really stringy, really tough. So you always want to cut against that grain. If you look at that steak, I mean, I like my steaks rare. This is exactly how I love it. If you look at that steak, it's got the nice cooked ring through it. You got the rare in the middle, the sear on the outside. The one that was not up to room temperature that we just pulled from the fridge does not have the nice sear. It's just rare all the way through. In fact, the center is still a little bit cold. And we cook these both for the same amount of time, for the same thickness, and there's such a substantial difference. So always when you're cooking meat, make sure that you pull it out and let it come to room temperature for at least an hour beforehand. And you season it and not whatever you're seasoning on top. Cool?
And thanks again for watching the video. Just a reminder that El Santo is doing their sock and underwear and a food drive from now until December 20th. You can drop those donations off at El Santo or the River Market. And come back tomorrow, we're gonna learn how to poach an egg.